The Drop returns here in part 4. Ladies and gentlemen, we have opened the final quarter of the gig tonight. Danno here, Studio 2 GFN HQ, downtown Gwangju. And we are on the phone with Nite's mastermind, Ryan Poole, who is calling in from Nashville, Tennessee. And that was Nite's with Forever Baby. Ryan, man, some serious vocal harmonies going on there at the end of that tune. Tell the listeners what they need to know about that cut.
Oh, man. Well, Forever Baby was the first Nite song. I alluded to it earlier, but I was just here at the studio bored on a Sunday and just wanted to make a song and just sat down. I mean, I wrote that song so quick. It was just, I needed a song to be able to record. Now, Your Window, which we heard earlier, like I worked on that for like months lyrically. Forever Baby, busted out an afternoon. We just needed something to be able to recorded it. And it was basically an excuse for me to make something that has kind of modern indie guitar sounds and stuff, but Beach Boys harmonies. And so I've definitely been a student of Brian Wilson's harmonies. And if people are hearing it and saying like, oh, I wonder if he's influenced by the Beach Boys, like, no. I'm straight copying the Beach Boys in terms of, I mean, that's not a Beach Boys song. It's not like, I'm not stealing, but I am like, how would the Beach Boys sing this? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely hear that. All right, so the next tune on your non-Nite's playlist is Third Eye Blind with Semi-Charmed Life. And let me tell you something. When you sent me this playlist, man, I had not thought of this song in decades. Tell us more.
So coming into this part of the playlist, this is now like the 90s. And so this is when I was a kid and, you're ultra receptive to music. I remember hearing Semi-Charmed Life late night on the radio while I was going to sleep, and I thought it was, at first, Two Princes by the Spin Doctors.
Oh, yeah.
And I had been trying to record that on my tape cassette off the radio for the longest time, so I jumped up and hit record, and then it wasn't Two Princes, it was Semi-Charmed Life, and it was like a brand new single. And it's such a hooky song, You got your do-do-do part, and, the chorus is hooky. Everything's hooky. And so that was my absolute favorite song as a 10-year-old and favorite album. And the cool part is when you come back to that first Third Eye Blind album, like as an adult, you find out that all the B-sides are actually better than the singles.
Yes.
It's actually an outstanding album.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good album, man. I never really listened to that album in its entirety until maybe a few years ago. And I was like, dude, the B-sides on this album are pretty sweet, man. But yeah, the singles are very commercial, but hey, they were very successful as well. I actually ended up hating that song. I worked in like a restaurant.
Oh, I can imagine.
The summer that came out, and it was just everywhere. I must have heard it 1,000 times working that summer, just like, oh man, Third Eye Blind again. But yeah, pretty good album overall. Now, Death Cab for Cutie is after that with The Sound of Settling. So tell us a little bit more about why you chose this tune as well.
So Death Cab is one of my favorite bands ever. When I turned 16 or 17, I made an informal list of my favorite bands. It's Jimmy Eat World, Death Cab for Cutie, and then Brand New. Now, that was a lot of years ago, so now that's not really my favorite list, but I sort of respect that list in my head, and so I have to have respect for the classics.
It's like a reference point,
and so,
It's like a reference point in the timeline. Yeah.
And so this was the first Death Cab song I ever heard, came on the radio when I was driving with my dad, and it's catchy, it's upbeat, it's fun. And Death Cab really is, who kind of ushered indie music into the mainstream in the, 2000s.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my entry point into indie music. And I've seen them live, and I have nothing but good thoughts about Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah, they really are killer live, right?
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw them at Red Rocks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good place to see them, man. I've only saw them once, and very, very good live band. All right, so just to recap for the listeners, Third Eye Blind is up next with Danno at work in high school having a nightmare of a day. Semi-Charmed Life is the title of the tune, and then it's The Sound of Settling by Death Cab for Cutie. We'll be back with Ryan Poole and his final selections in just a minute after listening to these two cuts. And this is The Drop on your Guests and Requests Friday nights.